Today, we are going to share a story that will touch your heart. Imagine a boy, heartbroken, crying at his mother's grave, wishing for just a sign that she is still with him. What happened next is something you won't believe and will change the way you see love and the connection with those who have passed. Stay with us to discover this emotional story. The boy, named Oliver, was an only child and had a very close relationship with his mother, Chloe. They were inseparable, sharing laughter, play, and dreams. Chloe was a loving mother, always present, and Oliver adored her. They spent hours in the park, where she taught him about life and love. These happy memories were etched in Oliver's heart. When Chloe fell ill, everything changed. Oliver, still very young, couldn't understand why his mother was suffering. He stayed by her side, holding her hand, promising that everything would be all right. Chloe, even in the most difficult moments, always kept a smile to comfort him. She told him that no matter what happened, she would always be with him in spirit. The illness progressed rapidly, and Chloe passed away, leaving a huge void in Oliver's life. The funeral was a moment of profound sadness. Oliver, beside his mother's coffin, felt lost and desperate. The presence of friends and family couldn't ease the pain he felt. He held a small photo of them together, remembering the happy moments that now seemed so distant. Oliver visited his mother's grave regularly. Each visit was an attempt to connect with her, to feel her presence. He brought flowers and spent hours sitting by the grave, telling her about his days and his longing. Although it was painful, it was also a way to keep Chloe's memory alive and feel close to her. On one of these visits, Oliver was particularly desolate. He cried uncontrollably, pleading for a sign. Anything to show him that his mother was still with him. The sky was cloudy, reflecting the sadness Oliver felt. He knelt and, with tears streaming down his face, desperately asked his mother to send him a sign. The moment of Chloe's loss was devastating for Oliver. He clearly remembered the day he received the news. The hospital was a cold, impersonal place, and the doctor's words echoed in his mind like a final sentence. Oliver held his mother's hand as she took her last breaths, feeling powerless and crushed by grief. After Chloe's death, the house that was once filled with laughter and love became a place of sadness and loneliness. Oliver took refuge in his mother's room, where he could still smell her perfume and hear her voice in the corners of his mind. He spent hours there, holding her belongings, seeking comfort in the memories. The funeral was a solemn event, with friends and family gathered to pay their last respects. Oliver, dressed in a small black suit, stood by the coffin, holding a white rose. He looked at his mother's serene face for the last time, struggling with the reality that she was no longer there. As people around offered words of consolation, Oliver felt isolated in his grief. The sight of the coffin being lowered into the ground was a final blow, a confirmation of what he feared. He threw the white rose onto the coffin and made a silent promise to always remember and honor his mother's memory. In the days that followed, Oliver felt lost. Daily routines became difficult to maintain, and he often found himself crying for no apparent reason. Chloe's absence was a constant weight on his heart. He clung to the few things that remained of her: photos, letters, and the stories she used to tell. Sometime after the loss, Oliver began to visit his mother's grave regularly. Each visit was a mix of pain and comfort. He felt a deep need to be close to her, even if it was only in spirit. The cemetery became a place of refuge, where he could freely express his sadness and longing. One particularly difficult afternoon, Oliver decided to go to the cemetery to try to find some relief. The sun was setting, and the sky was tinged with orange and purple, creating a serene atmosphere. He knelt before the grave, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers he had picked from his mother's garden. Oliver began to talk, telling his mother about his day and how he was feeling. He spoke about school, his friends, and the small victories and defeats of everyday life. But that afternoon, the words came with tears. He felt an emptiness so great it seemed impossible to fill. As the tears fell, Oliver closed his eyes and made a desperate plea. He asked for a sign, anything that could show him his mother was still with him. He wanted to feel her presence, hear her voice, or even see a small gesture that would bring him comfort. The silence of the cemetery was almost deafening. Oliver stayed there, on his knees, with his head bowed, feeling more alone than ever. But he kept talking, his words a mix of supplication and despair. He wanted to believe his mother was listening, that somehow she could respond to his call. And then, something incredible happened. As Oliver continued to cry and plead for a sign, a sensation of warmth began to envelop him. It was as if a soft light was approaching, bringing with it an indescribable peace. He opened his eyes and saw that the sky, once cloudy, now shone with a golden light. Oliver felt a presence around him, a comfort he couldn't explain. He looked at his mother's grave and, for a brief moment, thought he saw a familiar figure beside him. It wasn't a clear vision, but the feeling of love and protection was unmistakable. He felt the gentle touch of a hand on his shoulder, something that made him believe his mother was there. The boy stood up slowly, still feeling that comforting warmth. The tears on his face were replaced by a shy smile. He knew he had received the sign he so desperately wanted. Chloe, somehow, was with him, caring and protecting, even from the other side. This experience changed Oliver. He felt that his mother was always near, guiding him in moments of difficulty. He began to visit the cemetery with less pain and more hope, knowing that Chloe was by his side. Each visit became an opportunity to connect with her and to thank her for the love and support he always received. Oliver knew not everyone would believe his story, but for him, what happened was real and transformative. He found strength and courage to move forward, keeping his mother's memory alive in his heart. This experience brought him a new perspective on life and death, and he wanted to share this hope with others. After this miraculous event, Oliver felt the need to share his story with others. He began writing about his experiences, recording his feelings, and the change he felt after that day in the cemetery. Writing became a form of therapy, allowing him to process his grief and celebrate his mother's life. Oliver also started talking about his experience with friends and family. He wanted everyone to know that even in the darkest moments, there is light and hope. His words were full of emotion and sincerity, touching the hearts of all who listened. Many felt inspired and comforted by his story. Oliver's connection with his mother strengthened over time. He continued to visit the cemetery, but now his visits were filled with gratitude and peace. He brought flowers, cleaned the grave, and spent hours talking to her, knowing that somehow she was listening. Each visit was an opportunity to connect and find comfort. Oliver also found ways to honor his mother's memory in his daily life. He dedicated himself to his studies, inspired by Chloe's teachings, and got involved in activities he knew she would appreciate. He did volunteer work, helped friends, and tried to live a life that would make his mother proud. This experience transformed Oliver, giving him a new perspective on life and death. He learned that love transcends time and space, and those we love never truly leave us. This lesson was a constant source of strength and hope for him, guiding him on his journey. This story reminds us that love is eternal and our loved ones are always with us, even when we can't see them. Moments like these give us hope and help us find peace in the most difficult times. Oliver learned that his connection with his mother didn't break with death, it just transformed. Oliver wanted everyone to know that it's possible to find comfort and hope even after the loss of a loved one. He believed sharing his story could help others deal with their own pain and find a path to healing. His goal was to inspire and bring comfort to all who were going through difficult times. Oliver's experience also reinforced the importance of believing in something greater. He felt there was a higher power guiding and protecting him, something that gave him hope in moments of despair. This faith became an important part of his life, giving him strength and courage to face challenges. Oliver continued to live his life, always carrying his mother's memory in his heart. He knew that no matter what happened, she would always be with him, guiding and protecting him. This certainty gave him the strength to move forward, living a life full of purpose and meaning. For those watching this story, the message is clear. Never lose hope. Even in the darkest moments, there is light and love around us. Remember that those we love never truly leave us. They live on in our memories and in our hearts. Have you ever experienced a loss that seems unbearable? Have you ever wished for a sign that your loved ones are still around? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that inspire and comfort. Together, We can find comfort and hope even in the hardest times. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our inspiring stories. Thank you for watching, and remember, love is eternal. Until next time.